Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, guys, and today we're going to be having a look at how you can build Westen Champlin's Ford Ranger mud truck slash, well, I was going to say Monster Ranger, but it's much more of a mud truck than anything else. Now, I'm going to be going over the design, I'm going to be going over the mechanical parts of the build, and how I tried to keep it as similar to the real thing as I possibly could, obviously within the restrictions that Offroad Outlaws has as a game. But before we do any of that, I want to go ahead and take this thing out and show you guys what it can actually do, because even though it's not the fastest thing in the world, it actually rips really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and unequip the trailer because we don't really need that right now. I'm just going to take this out to one of my favorite test maps that's got some proper mud, it's got jumps, it's got just about everything you could want out of a testing ground sort of area. So let's go ahead and grab this thing once again, and we'll head over to single player and custom maps, and then in racing, it'll be right here under TC's Quick Race. The cool thing about TC's Quick Race, made of course by Jonathan Keffert, is that it loads really, really fast. So if you want a really fun testing ground that you can play with your friends, bro, this loads really fast regardless of what device you're on. It'll take a little bit longer to load if you're on an older device, but that entirely depends on what device you're running. Now, let's go ahead and get everything locked in and just hammer it in first gear. Watch this. Wham! The gearing is short, trust me, the gearing is properly short, but the gearing is also something that we're going to go over once we get into the details of the build, but I want you guys to see what this thing can do down this track. So I'm going to actually do a kind of like a somewhat race run and let you guys actually see the performance. So I'm going to leave the speedometer up. So let's go ahead and start it in neutral, and 3, 2, 1, let's go. Up and over, it goes all the way over. The damping tuning is incredible because it really does an amazing job of soaking up the bumps without kind of running into those weird issues where it springs back. And if it does spring back, well, then you just do a backflip. So let's see. Holds it around like 25 miles an hour-ish in the really deep mud. Let's see what we can do through the deeper stuff. Oh! Not bad. And it soaks up the bumps really, really well. So, not necessarily the fastest thing in the world, but definitely not the slowest either. So let's go back to the main menu now. We'll get it fixed up, we'll get it cleaned up, and then I'll walk you guys through all of the mechanical and tuning aspects of this truck. So now that we're back, let's go ahead and get it washed, which that was like, it's interesting. It cost more to clean it than it did to repair it. That's a bit odd. I mean, it's not always the case in Offroad Outlaws, but every once in a while it is. So right in with the upgrades. Now, thing is fully built, obviously on power, grip, weight, but it is not diesel swapped. It is gas. Now, the reason for that mainly actually was to stay fairly accurate to the real thing. Durability is all the way up. Gearbox is manual because the manual is faster in the mud. Now, some might say that, well, that's not all that accurate because the real one is an auto, not a manual. And if you want to do the auto, you can, but I wanted this thing to really be able to rip through the mud. And I found that through my own testing, the manual was faster. So e-brake wise, you could put one on if you want. You don't have to. I actually haven't put one on there yet, but I'm going to go ahead and throw one on. And then it's full turbo stage 4 just to get that little bit of extra power out of it. That's obviously not accurate to the real world thing, but that's just what we had to do to get the performance out of it that we needed here in Offroad Outlaws. So if we go back now and into the tuning, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So as far as suspensions go, now keeping it with kind of within the realm of what it is in real life, it's just a normal solid axle type with a spring over axle conversion, and it's really nothing crazy underneath as far as the axle and suspension setup. Again, that keeps it pretty similar to the real truck, which I wanted. Now, if we go to the tuning, though, that's where things get a little bit more interesting. Now, axis width is going to be 0.3, and that's going to be on the front and the rear, 0.3. Damping is going to be 3315 in the front, and in the back, like 3223. Those aren't exact numbers, but 3200 to 3300 will get you the results you're looking for. Leaf spring mount height minus 0.01 in the back, and leaf spring mount height is the same in the front. Shocks are at 1, and I believe they're at 1 in both the front and the rear. No rear steering on this thing. And then shock size in the front is 1.8, and in the back it's 1.9. Spring brackets, upper mount 1, front and rear. And then stiffness in the front is 13,400, and in the back it is 12,700. And of course, the travel is maxed out in the rear as well as maxed out in the front. So now that we've gone through the suspension tuning, let's go through a couple more of the specifics around the wheels and tires and the gear tuning. Now, wheels and tires wise, we're looking at a wheel size or quote unquote rim size of a 1.0 front and back, nothing special there. Radius is going to be 1.3, and then width is going to be 1.4, and that's all for the front and the rear, of course, upgraded to stage 5. Now, gear tuning. Really interesting setup on the gearing, but it works really well for TC's Quick Race. So we're running 3.3 in the front. Second gear is 2.1, or sorry, first gear, not in the front, but first gear is going to be 3.3. Second gear, 2.1. Third gear, 1.6. Fourth, 1.1, and fifth, 0.9, with the low gear remaining untouched. Now, as far as the dyno tuning and the flex and stuff like that goes, dyno tuning, it's just going to be on the perfect setup. So if you can go ahead and buy the perfect setup, that's going to match what this truck is. And the flex is actually not bad, considering the fact that the real one wasn't really designed for flexibility at all. The results of our tuning here in Offroad Outlaws allow it to go all the way up to 35 degrees of flex without the opposite axle leaving the ground whatsoever. But what's really cool about this thing is what happens when you do a drop test. It just returns right back and doesn't really even max out on the travel. It just drops, single rebound, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, we could refine that a little bit more as time goes on, and I do plan on messing around with this truck a little bit more in the future, but we'll have to wait and see what happens down the road with that. So now we're going to go into the customization, and this is where things get a little bit more intricate. It's not too crazy, but the intricacies are there. Now, body-wise, it's not all that crazy. I mean, the front bumper is going to be stock. The fenders are going to be stock. The rear bumper is going to be stock. Because, again, that's what the real one kind of went for, right? Now, the bed, obviously stock. Nothing on the cage. The side steps or running boards. You can do that if you want. You don't have to. Extra lighting. We don't have anything on there right now, and I don't have anything on for a snorkel. But what I do have is I do have these exhausts, and that is the second option. I mean, these side stacks, the semi-stacks, basically, are literally the second option. So you can go ahead and throw those on right out of the gate. We also have white HIDs for the headlights, just to kind of help a little bit if we end up playing on a nighttime map. And then the repair pack is, of course, in the bed, and the mirrors are stock. Now, going through with everything else, I've left the axles unpainted because I know that obviously, a lot of people are doing the painted axles now because it's a new feature, and a lot of people are using it, and I like it on a lot of my other trucks, like a lot of my show truck builds and things like that. But because that's not really what this truck is, I've left the axle colors alone. Now, wheels-wise, it is this option right here, which I believe is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th option. The 8th option in the list, just really old school style, kind of a steel wheel style, nothing crazy there. And it's all just basically, it's like a matte dark gray on both the front and the back. Now, tires-wise, there are these tires, and some people say, I remember when I was building this truck originally on stream, a lot of people were saying, don't use those are the sand tires, they're not mud tires, but these tires, and I've found this out through my own testing and through some of my friends' testing as well, these tires are some of the best in the mud. They're not only good for sand, they're also really, really, really good for mud, so keep that in mind. That's the tire option that you're going to go with. Now, wraps and decals. Here's where it gets really interesting. Now, the wraps, we have this flame wrap right here, and the flame wrap is positioned as you can see, and of course also colored as you can see here. Now, let's go ahead and go... What? No! Well, that went well. Lesson learned. We move on from there. Decals, basically, the way the decals are going to work is it's nothing too crazy. It's just a lot of copy and pasting went into making Weston's Redneck Science logo right back here. And what it essentially is it's a yellow layer with each word and then a red layer of each word placed on top of it and offset a little bit to the side to create a 3D effect. And then right here on the tailgate, we did a little bit of a silver strip on the tailgate and then a blue oval and then a Ford logo basically in like the script text right there on the tailgate itself. So fairly simple design, fairly simple features, and I think it came out really well, minus the issue that we had literally just now with the wrap. And that was entirely 100% my fault. And I'll take full responsibility for that. Now, I think it's time to take this thing out and see what it can actually do when you throw it into some proper mud. Aside from TC's Quick Race, I legitimately want to take this thing mudding. Now, let's grab our gooseneck trailer and we're going to hook it up to one of my favorite tow rigs and then throw this thing on it and then take it for a rip. So let's see. I'm thinking that for this, we're going to use the big old F350 right here, the TC Customs F350 Super Duty. This thing is, I mean, it's been in the fleet for so long. It's been a member of basically the TC Customs family for as long as I can remember, ever since I started doing the TC Customs thing in wow! Offroad Outlaws. Apparently, I am just getting all of my games mixed up today. Fun fact, this is indeed Offroad Outlaws, not SnowRunner. Wow, I would have never guessed. Anywho, wow, all right, apparently I need to, I need to go back and, look into why I said SnowRunner and not Offroad Outlaws. Jeez. All right. So if we go to the hunting maps, which is an odd category to put this one in, this is more of an RP map than a hunting map. It's an RP map with hunting elements for sure. But this should have the mud that we're looking for in order to take this thing out for a proper full-on test run. Well, it loaded completely fine that time. I don't know why it crashed out before, but at least we're in here now and we can take this thing out for a drive. So let's get out onto the main road, figure out where we're at, and then, well, actually, I mean, there is an opportunity to go ahead and just drive it straight through a pond, and we should probably do that, because that's kind of the... Yo, what are those ramps over there? I've legit, never seen that part of the map. I've never, ever seen that part of the map. That is so neat. All right, let's get this thing kind of over to where that boat dock is, and see how well it can actually get across the entire pond. What is back here? Oh, I am so easily distracted. Okay, yep, we're not gonna worry about what's down there. We're gonna head over here to the pond. And boom. Yo, freaking lake house, dude. It's so sick. All right, swap trucks. And now we get to see if this thing can actually rip across the pond. I think it can. Not only do I think it can, I think it's gonna go really, really far. The question is, how much damage is it gonna end up with? 3, 2, 1, let's go! And boom! Okay, oh, we're taking on lots of water. Not as badly as I thought, but yeet! Oh God, what's out there? And we have gone through the map, my dudes. Well, that's a really good view of how big the map is. But hope y'all enjoyed this video and hope y'all enjoyed this look at this truck and the tutorial on how to build it. And if you did, make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Talk to y'all later.